Good, good, good. I'm just joining you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ready, Chair?
We're up with an E or no E?
I don't want to be found.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the September 9th Climate Protection Work Group meeting. I'll chair the meeting today. I'm Peter McKenna. We'll start with our land acknowledgement. September 9th, we acknowledge that the sacred land on which Smith Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We're grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We're also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We're mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. If the committee's had a chance to look at the agenda, I would seek a motion to approve the agenda as circulated. Moved by Sean, seconded by Sue. All in favor? That's carried. And having looked at the minutes of the August 12th meeting, again, did anyone want to point out any errors or omissions? Seeing none, motion to approve the minutes. Moved by Linda, seconded by Danielle. All in favor? Carried. So prior, and if you have any monetary interest or conflict of interest there, please declare it now. Seeing none, priority issue number 1, and looking over at our colleague Richard.
Okay.
Talk about report number 202503.
Okay, so report 205. So report number 3 is talking about the draft resolution that I'm hoping that the committee will have a chance to review today. So the intent is that once the committee passes a resolution, then we would bring that as a recommendation to council to adopt the emission reduction targets. So the emission reduction targets for the placeholder I have here would be the 22% midterm reduction by 2026, the 40% reduction below baseline by 2030, and the net zero by 2050. I know Sue had asked a question about the data that will be going into that discussion. And the feasibility report will be finished by the end of the week, and we'll have an opportunity in the next 2 weeks to meet as a subcommittee to discuss it in more detail so that we can iron out those questions that you would have. So we're just kind of seemingly jumping the gun by saying that we're proposing these emission reduction targets, and then we'll rationalize it with the feasibility study done by the consultants, and then we'll have an opportunity to discuss it and make more decisions then.
So if we're clear, if I'm clear,
Yep.
The recommendation from staff is that we provide, you want us to adopt it, but you're also saying there's a consultant's report that might alter this, and then there's input of the small work group that
That's
might
right.
alter it again.
Well, yeah, so if the feasibility report comes back and you have a different recommendation than the reduction targets that we have as a placeholder, there'll be an opportunity to change it before we go to council.
Okay.
But we would like the committee to first at least make a recommendation to adopt a placeholder mission so that we could bring it to council. But if you would rather wait until we have the data, that is up to you.
Yeah, the intention was let's start writing stuff down here and coming up with something to bring forward to council, something I hopefully reflects the direction that this committee wants it to take. And it's just a matter of, do we want to, let's just stop there and just discuss. I just want people to understand where this is going. And, yeah. Sue.
Can I, thank you. I really am super anxious about putting placeholder numbers in there. I'd far prefer to just have XX as a placeholder, if that's what it is.
Fair enough.
Let's do that because, yeah, without knowing where these prospective numbers come from, then I'm just really uncomfortable. I mean, I would not want to see this document out in the public without some justification for those numbers.
So you wanted the placeholders to have XX in the interim until we have a
Why not?
finalized report?
If it's just a placeholder,
Sure.
just do XX.
And the reason is that there's a consultant's report to come and there's a
Yes.
subcommittee that wants to discuss that and then they would polish this up.
Yeah.
Right. Is that, I'm seeing nodding heads.
I guess I support that direction if we feel it's important that we go through those two steps before we confirm our numbers. Especially, I guess, also in light of the, as we don't want to wait the 60 days, the feds are reviewing this, I guess, or could be reviewing and all this stuff,
Yes.
I guess. But I'll take Sue's direction if she believe we should, or we should don't bring this to council until we've had a chance to take it through the subcommittee and with the consultant report.
I'd endorse the process. Yes, we have to take this to council, but after we have seen the report, had discussion about the numbers.
So you suggest we bring an interim report to council without numbers and then refine the numbers after?
I'd look to you gentlemen for guidance on that. I mean, I don't think it's right to go to council without numbers.
So the process would be October 14th. We would have our next group here. That would have given the consultants that we would have reviewed their recommendations. The subcommittee would have reviewed it. And then I hope the subcommittee then would put some numbers in for October 14th. Then we'd go to council right after that.
The
Unless
next
we have
council,
a special meeting, maybe, like of our committee to.
Just on that.
I'd be open to that.
When do we expect the consultant report to be completed?
when of this week.
Oh, okay.
So it's sooner rather than later. It just in terms of when people are available to meet.
And then
Okay.
you would somehow convene a meeting and
Yes.
remind us who that little work group is already.
So the subcommittee, I can't remember the members, but I believe it was Sue was part of that, as well as Nate and as well as the mayor.
Yeah.
And I can't recall who else
I mean,
was.
everybody'd be welcome, but.
Well, again,
you're part of it.
like
Group one?
I don't think the numbering matters as much, really. I know the
Some
numbering
have
was
feedback.
like initially introduced to make it easier, but if everyone would want to be there, it's just like we can't have this as a meeting. So that's what I mean. So the subcommittee just meets off camera.
Yeah.
So if you all want to participate, more the merrier. We can
So that
ask
would
if we
be
do something.
probably in 2 weeks.
That's what I mean, yeah. So after the 12th, the report should be ready. So we have the 15th to the 26th to meet as a group to discuss. And if you want to have some more questions for the consultant in that time, we can let the consultant know. So this is our time.
That makes sense to me.
The intent,
Technically, if the subcommittee's meeting, that's one thing, but if everybody's meeting, that's a full-fledged meeting with
public
voting powers.
participation.
Exactly.
Good thing Marie's here.
Well, I hadn't planned to, but I can. So with that in mind, that's fine. There's nothing secret about what we're doing anyway, so. The intention was to get it in front of council earlier in October, because they'll be starting their budget consideration process.
Okay.
Or at least the
Yes.
treasurer is going to be coming forward with a outline of a process to complete our budget. And so we felt that this was an important bit of information, even though we don't, because I know what people are going to ask about. So if that's your target, we'll never come up with a plan on how we're going to, any action and cost it, but it won't. It isn't the committee's job to get that far. We just wanted to get this in front of them.
Okay,
So Maria, have you got that? Next week you'll have a draft or the consultant's report. And do we want to set a date for that now? For that?
you guys can. When's the last time you guys are going to be in one room to make a decision? I think we should, yeah?
And then from there, we take the X's out of here and put in our best advice to council.
Precisely, yeah.
Do you say the consultants would have the report done by the end of this week?
That's right, yeah, so
So then
hopefully
next
on
week-
Monday, we'll have the time to meet at some point between Monday and the end of the
Oh, I
week.
see.
You'll send it out.
Yes, exactly. So on Monday, you will hear something from me if the report's ready, and we'll have the time between the Monday on the 12th, on the 15th, the 26th to decide when to meet. So,
I'm presuming, knowing what they've done before, Greenskill has done before, I'm presuming that they'll present us with 3 options.
that's right.
Just,
Makes sense.
you know, as a heads up.
Like aggressive and medium
Yes.
and
So,
So Richard, looking at your and Marie's schedule,
Yes.
do you have a suggestion?
For when to meet?
Yes.
Let's see. So next week, the 17th, not good because we have the Heritage Conservation District Open House.
18th.
Sorry, the 18th? Is that the
That's
Wednesday?
Thursday, the 18th.
On the Thursday. So we can either meet on the Tuesday next week or the Wednesday or the Friday.
I can't do Wednesday or Friday, but I'm not part of that group.
Thursday, the 18th.
The
So
Heritage District.
Thursday doesn't work for us because it's Heritage, but every other day that week could work for us, or we could do the preceding week after.
Next week.
I'm good for the Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Does Tuesday seem to kind of line?
This is
Yeah,
16th?
Tuesday works better for me. Thursday doesn't.
Tuesday, the 16th?
Yeah.
4:30? 2 o'clock? What time?
Yeah, I'm rather flexible throughout the day, so
Afternoon's
amongst you
good.
guys.
2?
Afternoon?
2, sure.
who has to be at this meeting? All of us?
No, don't have to be there.
Okay.
There was a.
This is just the committee,
Subcommittee.
the subcommittee, sorry.
But it's open.
I got it. Okay. I don't think I'm on that subcommittee.
I would
So
suggest that anybody who can, this is one of the most important discussions we're gonna have.
Yeah.
So, if not the most.
So name the time. 2.
2.
I thought we said 2 was, yeah,
Okay.
2 on a Tuesday.
So I'll
Yeah.
circulate a meeting invite to everybody for
Sure.
Tuesday, the 16th at 2 p.m.
With a 1 agenda item.
Yes.
Agenda item, okay.
And if there's no quorum, it doesn't matter.
And I'll circulate the report once I get it.
Excuse me.
All right, that was too easy.
No.
Now, was there anything in
Can we get
the,
into the meeting?
now, was there anything in that, other than the
Placeholder
numbers that
numbers.
Sue, that we talked about taking out at this point? Is there anything in that report that you would like to enhance or reduce or change? And if not, we're gonna have another kick at it.
I had a question.
Sure.
I don't know if this is typical, coming from where I'm coming from, but when I hear the years, I don't know if that means the beginning of the year, fiscal year, or end of a calendar year. So I didn't want to get that nitpicky, but
No,
it jumped out at me.
I read it as a calendar year, so that's how I read it in terms of how we're measuring emissions. It's from January to December.
that's,
It's good that it's you just say 26, because then, hey, if we get it in January, great, but then we have until December. But nonetheless, I didn't know if you had to get that specific when doing these things.
No.
Oh, the town works off the calendar year.
Calendar, okay.
So I'll leave it for now. Nick, we're gonna have another kick at this, 2 more kicks.
Yes.
One in the subcommittee and 2 when we meet as a,
It's a group. Which is tentative the 14th.
Yeah.
Yes.
all right. So then we're moving on to the Danielle's CCHVAA.
The Shabbat.
Shabbat.
I was gonna switch my screen.
Say it again, I don't think I get that.
The Shabbat.
Peter came up with that.
How do I make this large?
Okay.
Okay.
Screen.
So I'm gonna skip ahead to a few slides because you guys have already had the general presentation, so I don't think that's.
But the public are watching, so.
Oh, okay. Do you want to go over the whole thing?
No, I will, the
Okay,
summer is good.
okay,
Just direct my hands and I'll click away.
okay. So,
Move ahead
yes.
to,
So this is a revised version of the presentation that you guys would have received with the addition of the CHVAA report details in it. It's had some tweaks to it as well. So if you go to the next slide, this is just the outline of what the general presentation would be that I would probably give to another group in its full form. But I don't know that we need to go through all of this right now. I'm just going to focus on the climate change health vulnerability adaptation assessment piece. So the next one talks about what is climate change, and there's lots to speak to that slide, but I think this group is already engaged and well aware of that part. And then we would go through the climate change and health piece and the connection to us. But the next slide number 5, the purpose of this revise, where I would like to dig in a little bit. So the purpose of that assessment that we did for the Southeast region, it started prior to our merger. So it was the 3 health units working together, and now we are 1. And so we were collating our climate change data. A lot of that was, you'll see, is sort of separated because it was gathered by region. So sometimes there's data that some regions have and others don't, or that we have totaled for the regions. So we also wanted to identify links between climate change and health, understand the rules and priorities for public health programming, and make adaptation and mitigation recommendations within our scope. So really the report is for our planning purposes. So the next slide, please, Richard. So these are the pieces.
you said our planning purposes, you mean the health unit?
Health unit, yes, sorry, yes. So we collated information, including a staff survey that we did. We pulled together some local climate data. We reviewed many other regions' vulnerability assessments as well. I have a list here. So those include Northern Health, Durham region, Haliburton, Kawartha, Pine Ridge, Ottawa Public Health Sudbury and District, region of Waterloo and Wellington Dufferin, Simcoe, Muskoka, York region, and Peterborough. Just to give you a sense of what we looked at. So the literature review was not done. I removed that from my slide, so this is an older version, because those literature reviews were done within the other report. So we just decided to just go to the meat of it and look at the other assessments. And then we did key informant interviews. Those were with some of the people around the table. So we did have some great engagement from community partners, and we also used this information to identify what some of the health hazards were and what were some of the populations that were most at risk of climate impacts. From all of that, we were creating some recommendations for action. So, yeah. So the next slide is just an image of the executive summary. That is what we've made available to the public. You can go online and access this document. It links you to the Kingston Public Health website. So if you find yourself there, don't be shocked. It's the right place to be. It's just a way of tracking how many people are accessing that report. So you just have to request a copy, and then it'll be sent to you. Yeah. So then the next one just is the categories of health hazards that were identified and highlighted within the report. So extreme temperatures, heat and cold, extreme weather events. So some of this is broken down into more detail. So rain, flood and drought, windstorms, tornadoes, winter storms, and wildfires. The next one, air pollution. So human activity, combustion, wildfire, allergens, indoor air quality, all of those things. UV radiation as well, and those impacts. Vector-borne disease, so mosquito and tick-borne primarily are the ones that are highlighted, and food and waterborne illness, so pathogens, algal blooms are highlighted in there as well.
So can you want questions as we go?
Sure.
So with those categories, all of those hazards exist now.
Mm-hmm.
This report tells us that the likelihood of them worsening, or do you have a sense of it?
It speaks to, like, when you're going through the individual health hazards, particularly in the more detailed report that we have, it talks a bit about sort of what the risk is now. And so some are not as high risk at this point, but we suspect they will get greater. Others are quite high, and are quite high for our region in particular. So there is differentiation between the risk. There isn't like a grading system of this is the most risk and this is the least risk. But we did try and highlight, we went through this executive summary, a group of us, and we kind of highlighted things that really stood out to us. And then use those to create the fact sheet that I handed out, just to pull out some of the pieces that we thought, wow, that's kind of either surprising, shocking, concerning, usually one of those, or all of those three. Yeah, so that's how it's more in a narrative form. Although there's like data and tables to show sort of what is and what is over time and what's projected, and there isn't the same data for each of those. So some have more numerical data and others don't. But that speaks to some of the need for data as well. So.
And I know the health unit will do this, but then there are vulnerable populations that are impacted, and we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
Because one of the things Richard reminds me of, and I'm sure I'm not alone, I spend a lot of time focusing on emissions and reductions, and I always forget about mitigation. And I don't know why, I haven't got it. So the kind of stuff that we'd be talking about for those vulnerable populations is mitigation and
adaptation. So
maybe I'm unique.
No, I feel like that's where my head keeps going back to. So I had actually some input for the other agenda item around that as well.
Oh, cool.
But so the next item, or the next slide, is just an image of some of those highlights from the fact sheet, which I can't read without my glasses on. But it just gives you some general trends. So we thought it'd be worthwhile to actually have the global land ocean temperature index to show that change. But it just highlights, and you can see the colorful boxes. Things like the UV radiation is the highest rate of melanoma in Ontario for the past 10 years. So it shows you what Ontario is and what our region is. Yeah.
So I was not surprised by the Lyme disease.
Mm.
I was not surprised by the algal growth. I am blown away by the
I
UV.
know.
Like, have you got
Yeah.
a reason for that?
No.
I do know we are the solar capital of Southern Ontario. And that's why we have so many solar farms here.
Okay, well, and
We
likely
get more
there's,
solar radiation than, is that linked?
yeah, we don't have the reason for it.
Interesting.
We just have the data. And so it you know, we'd have to look at what some contributing factors might be and what we have control over, but who knows? I mean, we were thinking about that as well, going, is it that we have a lot of outdoor workers? Is it that, you know, trend of information sharing that, you know, there is a trend
Number of lakes.
yes, and
More
camping
on
and
the-
cottaging and all that sort of thing. And there's also a decreased trend in sort of that sun safety behaviors and
Okay.
stuff like that. So there is a lot that we need to look at, but that was one that stood out to us as well.
So fun fact, your ocean temperature index, land ocean, Smith Falls' very own Gilline Instruments creates the tool that measures ocean temperature.
Whoa.
Really?
Yes.
That is very
That
cool.
is truly a fun fact.
It's a very niche industry. There's a couple of others in the world that do it, but
That's cool. I'm
Yeah.
glad I put it on
you
there.
should see them. They'll give you a tour of it. It's fascinating.
That's great.
Wow.
And they've been doing it a long time.
Mm.
And I'm sorry, what's their proper name again, Peter?
Gilline Instruments.
Yes.
They're in Smith Falls?
Yeah, one of the
Yeah, in fact, when we have our first Plant a Tree Creator Park, they were participants in that.
Oh, wow.
So there's now at least 37 years.
Wow.
1957 they moved to
Jeez.
Smith Falls.
That's really
That's cool.
neat.
Hmm. The more you know.
I could tell you more, but
No, I love it. That's
president
great.
of the company is a really interesting dude.
Yeah.
And it's small. Right?
So, yeah, so then we just did some, a list of different trends that we were seeing or expecting with our changing climate. And so those are the ones that are listed here. Then the extreme heat in the Southeast Health Unit region, we're going to see more extreme heat, hotter and lasting longer. And by the end of the century, most of the summer season will have temperatures at heat warning levels. So we thought that was another thing to kind of highlight. It does kind of tie into the UV piece. So we put that in there as well. So those are the things of what to expect. And then the next slide goes into what Peter was talking about, is the populations also at risk. And so you'll see there's a lot of groups identified here. So those living in rural areas, Indigenous peoples, infants and young children, older adults, outdoor workers, individuals with chronic illness, and those facing social economic disadvantages. And the reason for the heightened is due to heightened exposure, increased susceptibility, limited capacity to recover from damages, and those types of things. So, yeah, so there's different ways to address those disparities, and I don't think I need to harp on that with Smith Falls, considering you have a very strong health equity lens when you are looking at your work, which is excellent and will really tie in well with this, which was part of the feedback I was thinking about for our discussion later too. So I think the idea of health equity work in combination with the climate change work, there's a really good tie-in between those two pieces. And in particular, when you're talking about the adaptation and reducing vulnerability.
So another interesting fact that I heard at a public health meeting this spring, the head of Ontario Health, which operates hospital and primary care system for Ontario, all health system, said that hospitals can run at, so this means they only have, these numbers only have to impact a little bit. Like he said that hospitals are, can run at about 108% capacity and still do it. If they go to as high as 112, it's only like 4%. It puts them into chaos and disarray. So that's why vaccines, flu vaccines, the other vaccinations that keep people out of pneumonia and COVID and influenza that tip these vulnerable populations into the hospital. Just by reducing your vaccination rates, you can tip our health system into a crisis. So these numbers going up, people showing up with lung-related illness based air quality or heat stroke, is just enough. Like we're not talking about the whole population. Just a small number can tip our health system into chaos. It's a fine line.
And I mean, the fact that it's usually happening with an event, a climate event, a specific period of time, that means it's impacting all at once, the whole population.
Yes.
So then you're going to get a spike, right? So it's not even that it's through time. So those are the groups that were identified in the report of consideration. And then the next slide goes into the recommendations. So the idea, as I mentioned, is for us in public health to create an action plan with this information. And those, the plan should include, these are the recommendations that came out of it, a monitoring and evaluation plan. I think it's been clear, there's been questions from this group about data and monitoring. We've had those questions and we've had those discussions at various tables, both within the health unit as well as out in our public health network groups and beyond. So there's an acknowledgement that we need some consistency in language and measure and indicators and all that sort of thing. So definitely that is something, and it is helpful to know that there are all these other health units that are working on their plans as well. So hopefully we can
So
come
this would
together.
be a Southeast Health Unit action plan. Okay.
And so the other recommendation is to focus on health equity and local knowledge, and to have a strategy to strengthen community capacity and resilience. Lots of ideas from the interviews that we did, the key informant interviews that we did on how that might happen. And the plan will identify and respond to future climate trends and risks. So now that we have some ideas of what those risks are, and then we can kind of set a path forward on how we're going to do that and how we're going to track data. Because even some of the places that are measuring data, there were some, and they're all along sort of the lower end of our region. So Kingston, Brockville, and Belleville. And so that doesn't capture the northern end of our communities.
Brook Valley.
So yeah, exactly. So those are the recommendations. So the conclusion and next steps are that we're going to prioritize adaptation and mitigation efforts in public health programs and services, looking at our agency, support work that anticipates, addresses, and mitigates emerging risks and impacts of climate change, like working with this group, and it will inform and support an adaptive and resilient system for the region, and hopefully be helpful and informative for others as well. Even though it was created for our purposes, there is information that might be relevant and helpful for other groups as well. And then I think the next slides are,
Yes, the links.
yeah, it's just looking at why is it relevant to municipalities. I think we know that's why this group exists. And then the next slide is what municipalities can do, which again, you know, that's why you're working on it. And then we explain the mitigation piece and what that looks like for municipalities, and the adaptation piece and what that looks like for municipalities. And then this piece on trying to ideally work on both consecutively. So using strategies that mitigate and adapt versus ones that might do one and conflict with the other. So I think that's it. So yeah, and then there's resources on our website.
Okay.
You'll have to remind me, health units, when they get their funding, there's a group of mandatory programs that they must deliver.
Yeah, our standards.
Your standards. Is climate change? I don't remember.
Yes. So yes, it is clearly
Climate.
indicated in our standards.
Okay.
There's actually a separate document that outlines
Okay.
that we should be
So
working
part of
on
your,
it.
this is part of your core work.
Mhm.
All right.
We are supposed to be getting updated standards in the next,
Mhm.
well, by the end of last month, which we haven't received. So I don't know, I don't have a deadline that I'm aware of yet for those, but I can't imagine it not being in there.
Okay.
So, yeah. Any other questions about that? We do have information on our website in a couple spots. I think Zara went over that with you, that there's the, under the health information for the general public, there's a climate change section. And then there's other sections that we link to from the website that are associated with it. And then there's the municipal staff and partners section, which is more in-depth sort of technical documents and resources for climate change work. So probably more relevant for this group.
And-
Sorry,
Go ahead.
just one question, Danielle, because I know we had a presentation some months ago, but this is now on the website. Is it? This is a public document?
The executive summary is.
Okay. And so can we publicize that then?
Yeah.
And okay.
And I have been reaching out to different people that I've interviewed. We haven't done a big promotion of it yet, but that's partly because we're in the midst of merging and trying to figure out how do we do this as a new entity. And I now this week have a new manager, and so it's more internal sorting out business than anything. But I certainly haven't been keeping it under my hat. I just haven't been actively running out because I don't know what I can promise to do just yet.
Mm-hmm. I certainly, as CNL, we'd love to just put it on our
Yes.
newsletter at least anyway. And I know we have referred to it in other situations. So yeah.
Yeah, most certainly you can. do
And
that.
would you see this as a companion document to our final report, or I shouldn't say final, but our?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think too it might, I was thinking it might even be a good companion document to the work being
Resolution.
done on the
The comments.
the
Plan.
climate lands.
And especially these highlights in these particular. Yeah.
Thanks very much for sharing that. I'm not seeing more questions.
Welcome.
I think it'll be with us for a few years as a reference.
And I understand this to be a topic that I have assigned to me in my new team, so I don't foresee that my role is necessarily going to go away from climate change. It might change how I work, but So we'll be working on it. I'm happy about that.
Project update, Richard. That's your next report.
Yeah, so the next report is on the Climate Lens Toolkit policy. I'm just bringing this back to the committee because I know they wanted to see it for some time. And so the Climate Action Lens will be something that will be a part of the Climate Action Plan. And the intent is that the toolkit would have a series of tools that will help us assess capital projects. What I'm asking the committee when we're looking at this policy is to determine what should the parameters of the policy really be. Should we just be looking at capital works that are on the budget line item, or should it be looking at more day-to-day tasks and operations? What I was struggling with is trying to scope out what the climate lens will do, essentially. So the climate lens is just how we assess if a project is going to be creating direct greenhouse gas emissions, and if it has any impacts, any climate-related vulnerabilities, for example. So that was the initial essence of what the toolkit could be. I'm open to different considerations for what else it could look at, or if it could look at things better. So the floor is open.
Yeah.
I have a lot of notes that I can share with you, but I just was having a bit of a brain dump as I was going through that and thinking that it could certainly have some added pieces around adaptation, vulnerability in the lens. And then I was also looking at your official plan, and that got me thinking of your health equity lens that you use and the fact that there could be some good integration there. So I guess my question is, when you're using your health equity lens, what criteria do you use for when you use that lens versus what you were thinking for the climate change lens?
That's interesting. I know that for some of our land use projects, we may have a health sort of equity lens, but we don't often use it in terms of a land use planning perspective because we're just looking more at the development base. Usually the after effects of why it's been developed isn't really part of the consideration. So in terms of the planning piece, we don't often use a health equity lens all the time. Could we? Perhaps, but that just isn't part of our normal operating process. On a municipal level, I can't speak to like how the municipality uses the health equity lens. I'm sure they do, but I can't really figure out how they do it in all instances. That's like part one of your question, I guess.
Yeah, no, I just was curious because I could see.
The mayor probably knows this better than I do. My sense is there isn't an overarching health equity lens. So our ICE rental policy comes up. We apply a health equity lens to that to make sure children and groups that wouldn't normally have access to the ICE have better or improved access than they used to. Okay. And that has caused some, because sometimes when you, so let's say there's a well-established hockey men's group that have always had the best ice time and the best rates. And you say, well, you know what, there's only 25 of you and there's 100 young girls that fits better for them. So we'll move, because of that equity lens, move them out and place the 100 young girls in that time slot. And that's our policies around encouraging a broader, more equitable use of our rec services. So that is a new, and that's causing, any change like that causes, and it's applied. So there is a policy there, but I don't think we have one overarching one. In our funding of community grants, we try to not-for-profit groups in the.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no formal policy, but I think it's sort of embedded a culture in how we approach decisions and fairness and equity.
Yeah, because I saw it mentioned as using the health equity lens for the official plan. So that got me thinking that if it's used for capital projects, this climate lens, I mean, could the climate lens include health equity pieces and adaptation? Like, I think there's crossover with do both, I would imagine. But if it included those, then could it also be used for planning as well, creating plans, whether it's your recreation plan or your just.
We talked a little wee bit about, and Bob argued would be the best person to speak to it, but Bob talked, when we had him in, we talked about what the lens was. But then when you go to adapt it or to use it internally, just start, pick something.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it for everything,
No.
but pick some, maybe it is your capital items, and then you'll learn to use them, and then you broaden it, but.
Yeah. Or even that maybe the adaptation, vulnerability, health equity piece is a separate piece that is more applicable to planning documents versus who knows? Like, I don't know what the answer is, but it just got me thinking that there might be some questions or some prompts that could address or have people think about, what.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to separate them, right? Health equity and the climate lens.
No, like I don't think you can. Like, I think if you're addressing vulnerability and adaptation, you are going to be looking at health equity.
So jump in.
So a couple of years ago when I looked a bit deeper at this, there is both qualitative and quantitative climate lens. And so really the process that Bob Argy brought forward, right, is a quantitative. That's measuring literally the GHG emissions against cost.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's simple, and I think should be done for absolutely every capital project, and possibly even things that are like long-term maintenance or something like that. The qualitative lens, I think, is a bit different. At the time that I was looking at it, the City of London
I see what you're saying.
was the place that had developed the more comprehensive qualitative lens. And maybe that's where some of the health factors could be integrated or have been integrated. I think it would be worth finding the one from the City of London, but also going into the portal and just looking for other municipalities with
Similar.
qualitative lenses. Anyway, that's all I can contribute on that.
I do have a few links too that I could send you, Richard, if it would be helpful.
Okay.
On sort of climate adaptation tools and that sort of thing that I was looking at with some questions. Because I was just thinking, even the way some of the questions are framed, you could tweak them and still have people think about, what did I have? Like question 4, at a risk if not making the change to adapt or mitigate to climate change. So we're asking about the risks of making the change, but we're not asking about the risks of not making the change and that kind of thing. So just whether there's a way to tweak the question to still get thinking about those adaptation there.
And I'm going to throw in here, without slowing things down.
Yes.
Pardon me?
I am so taken with the book Abundance, which is an evaluation of the American systems and the right and versus left, whatever. But we don't need to have bureaucracies that slow down action. Right?
Well, the reality is this creates another challenge, and to your point, more work staff, and I think it's an evolutionary thing where eventually it becomes part of our culture. It becomes second nature, but we're probably years away before that would happen. And ideally, we've been in a situation where staff it is that second nature. It's coming to them. It's automatic, and we're making decisions, and not just in a major capital purchase, but even from an operational standpoint. So it's little things like don't leave the vehicle I'd like.
Thank you. Yes.
Maybe it's a matter of having standards for extreme heat days. So like we want to have public works staff out there if it's above a certain temperature and humidex out there, or same as community services, should we be cutting the grass if it's, I don't know, combination, whatever the temperature is, whatever's not safe, right?
Yeah.
Or do we look at, say, well, maybe we need to look at having enclosed cabs for our grass cutting purchases in the future. So
Well, and
so
quite
it's-
frankly, not using fossil fuel machines
yes.
on excessively hot days because it makes the whole
Makes it hotter.
process worse.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I think there's a lot of ingenuity that would come from frontline services, from the staff who are out there. They're the ones who are going in and say, well, we shouldn't be doing this, we should be doing this. And again, so it's how do we just embed it in the culture as we evolve over time. So I think we start with, and those may not make big differences when it comes to reductions in our greenhouse gas emissions. It may make some adaptation steps or steps in adaptation, but overall, it's just changing that complete mindset and how we operate. So I think it would create more opportunities in the future.
Danielle, you want to?
Well, I was just gonna say, I think from what I'm hearing, that sometimes the planning starts with the mitigation plan, and then the next stage, sort of down the road, is the adaptation plan, which I think having something more concrete, like a mitigation plan where you're measuring GHGs and that sort of thing, it's a great start to that process. And then with the understanding that things will evolve as you go. So if there's a plan moving forward to do more of an adaptation plan that you tag on and you add to, it's not going to stop the process. Like you can still move along and then add to it as you learn, and add the chapter on adaptation, which I think might fit with the county's plan, because their next stage is looking at the adaptation, right? So
It's true, and can I digress for a half a minute? So our program, which I know Sadie was here last night talking about. Anyway, this is 6 sessions over 6 months, 2 hours a month over 6 months. And one of the last ones is on adaptation. So what do you do around your own house, right? In terms of creating an environment where it's not going to catch on fire. You know, how do you handle excessive heat? How do you handle drought? All that sort of stuff. It's a little odd in that I have now become the presenter of that because there's nobody in the area who has pulled all that information together. It's really distressing that way, frankly. But we're also at the point now where the crisis is so bad that it's the emergencies and the adaptation actions that are getting the attention and are getting the attention of councillors, right? So, you know, a couple of decades ago, we thought, yeah, you know, it's sequential, we'll do mitigation, and then I don't think that's the case now, right? I think in some ways we have to start with, regrettably.
That's, because we could do an extremely good job at hitting our targets, and we still need to adapt to the reality that if the rest of the world is not where we're at, our impact is extremely minuscule. And especially when we look at the complete shift in the US and being the world's largest emitter, probably going to increase emissions, certainly over the terms of the current administration, which pushes us back even further. So the risk to our population, to our assets, could grow significantly more than where we are today. And how do we create a community that is safe for everybody, to minimize the damage and mitigate the risk? And I agree. I think it has to be as big a part of our plan as mitigation overall.
Yeah.
sadly.
Yes, very sadly. Yep.
So Richard has a draft climate lens toolkit policy.
Mhm.
And his first question was, is it just capital or is it everything? And you're hearing it's broad. It's
Yes.
mitigation, it's adaptation, and how you operationalize it. Where is it gone inside the corporation?
So we haven't done the like meeting with senior management yet because I wanted to bring speakers first.
Okay.
And then we can disseminate it, but that's the next step, talking with senior management as well as other staff as well who will be using it daily. So when do capital projects get determined? I'm not really sure. I think every department, they have a budget and they make a decision, but when that is executed, I'm not exactly sure the timeline is. I think our municipality works in silos in some ways. So they all work independently and they all make decisions independently. So I don't know when they determine what capital projects are going to be done in 2026, for example. But the goal is that before those decisions get made, this gets done first so that they can use it and apply it. That's the intent.
So the feedback I've heard is check out London. Danielle has some other links, and not only a climate lens, but a health equity lens, just to make it a little more fun. And if there was one, is our feedback. I think we saw in the news this week, the city of Ottawa's done that. And they looked at where all the trees are in their city. And there were no trees in poor neighborhoods, people that really needed it. So now they can say, we're going to invest in trees. Let's start there rather than a broad approach to tree planting.
Interesting. Well,
They looked at who lives in the neighborhoods that have the least trees, and it's poor, marginalized populations. And now they're going to do something about it. And we did it in a small scale when we looked at our playgrounds and where the resources were all going. We had a really great, underutilized, I shouldn't say great, it was an empty playground in a really marginalized neighborhood. And we've invested in that. And all of a sudden you're seeing a dynamic community coming out, using it for a number of events that it was not being used for. So the lens is being applied, but it's not consistent. And we were planting trees at the same time. Yes.
Is it possible, again, I really appreciate this discussion. I appreciate the complexity of it and bringing in the complexities. But again, I'm concerned about not delaying, right? Because we have talked about the quantitative climate lens for a year now, right? And is it possible to move forward with the executive committee on the quantitative climate lens and tell them we'll be bringing forward a qualitative one too? Or talk to them about bringing that forward.
so the quantitative, you mean using the calculator?
Yeah, sorry, I have to go. Yeah.
Okay, Peter, thank
Yeah,
you.
bye. Yeah.
Sorry, so the quantitative, you mean using the calculator?
Yeah, the one that Bob Argue has.
So I've looked at Bob Argues, and in my opinion, I think it works best for like individual projects or things that are more on the residential side. For example, composting and putting in light bulbs, for example. But when I look at it, I don't think there is an assessment for at the municipal level, and that.
It's all about the municipal level.
No, so I mean, capital projects would be simpler, but for day-to-day operations, I don't know how to assess it at the municipal level. So let's say that we're going to be looking at, I don't know what would be day-to-day operation.
An electric Zamboni, but I know you've done it already, but that would be one. Or converting a building from one type to another.
But those would be like capital projects you put money into, and there is like a way to do assessments.
Talk to Bob, because the whole point of his lens was about municipal decision making.
Yeah. So we are at this point, Sue's advice, and I agree with it, she'll be happy to, is get started on the one that's really straightforward, that the lens that is the most, and then as they start using it, so you're gonna buy, you've got bids on 3 graders, and you're gonna choose the one that, at least you'll consider what's the impact and run it through a climate lens. And not just on cost or maintenance or convenience, but
GHGs.
Yes, but this climate lens requires the user to do a calculation. It doesn't have a calculator attached to it because I haven't found one that really works, but it does have a component for that requiring for that calculation. So if they're looking at making a purchase, they'd have to find another means of finding that number, but they'll still be using the baseline that we already have. So long as they're able to determine the net change from their proposed plan or project, they can use that as a basis for determining the impact on the baseline. So the calculator just makes it easier to do that calculation, but the tool policy still requires that calculation. It just doesn't have the calculator attached to it.
But that is what Bob's tool does. It is a calculator.
I know it's a calculator. I just don't think it works as effectively. I'll show you what I mean, and we can discuss after. But I think there may be a disconnect
we
somewhere.
want to get started,
Yes.
and we don't need we don't need to have it all figured out. And again, budget's coming up this
Yes,
year.
perfect timing.
Council's going to be saying, we want these decisions to go through a climate lens. I'm hoping you're going to say that. And staff will be asked to find that, and Bob's got one that works. And other cities do. And Linda.
Peter, on one of your emails, Richard, you have an appendix, like the Schedule A Climate Lens Assessment questionnaire. Should it be something we look at before we meet next and be able to, it's that one? There's 3 pages with the questions, a questionnaire about your report, the Lens Toolkit.
So I can repeat your question one more time?
Can you repeat that, Linda, please?
Yeah, I didn't understand what you're saying.
Yeah, this.
Yes, that's the one right there, yeah.
So you're asking, we don't have to complete it, but it's an example of one if the town was going to adopt one
Okay,
in their purchasing, they would complete it.
okay.
And Richard's saying, does it have a calculator with it?
But what I'm hearing is that they want a calculator with it, and they want something that is appropriately scaled. So yes, we're looking into the calculator.
Okay, thank you.
Danielle?
Well, this is the one where I was thinking that a couple of the questions could be tweaked to integrate some.
Right.
Yeah, but wouldn't be that hard to do, I wouldn't imagine.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear you guys' feedback. I was trying to figure out the best way to have the climate review templates. I didn't want it to be too onerous for anyone who's doing it. One of the things that was communicated to me is that as much as we have a good, this just isn't working today. As long as we have a good baseline, the challenge is trying to make sure that staff also understand how to use it.
Yep.
So
For sure.
if I create something that's too complicated, then I have to educate every single person, that is the learning curve. So that's sort of what I'm trying to do when I'm making these. So these schedules, the ideas that these schedules will turn into some sort of user guide, so that anyone who's trying to read the policy and say, how do I use the calculator? Okay, try this user guide, and it kind of walks you through it. So the assessment tools essentially just make it easier for them to make decisions.
We need to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the concierge
This-
program. I'll help you
Yes,
go through it.
because Bob has trained county staff, both staff in climate lens. So we need to talk, Richard.
Sure.
Okay?
Yep.
So that's the feedback. Maria, are you comfortable with that feedback so far?
Yeah, thank you.
Nobody said it was going to be easy.
No.
No,
Is
definitely
there
not.
anybody on that has anything they'd like to mention on the round table? I am signing up to the concierge program
Thank you.
myself.
Great, fabulous.
I haven't told Donna, but we have a house in town that needs, we have to have a plan. We don't have a plan.
Perfect. Okay.
So, and also we have a committee that's going to try and get some more people. We want to get that number up around 12 or 14.
Yes,
So that's my roundtable. Other roundtable? Anybody?
The only thing that I will mention is it's turned into a weekend of events. But anyway, so September 19th, which is a Friday, there's a protest in Perth at the Highway 7 in front of the Shoppers Drug Mart related to the Seniors for Climate.
Oh, yes, that's what's on there.
This whole push, right? And then on the 20th is the big Seniors for Climate rally in Ottawa. And then on the 21st, just to watch out for it, in the States is Sun Day.
Is it on a Sunday?
Yes. And so that's a whole push in the States from their seniors organization pushing for solar renewables, right? So anyway, it's a weekend of stuff, so you can, if you want to Google any of that, it's all there to be had.
So that's today, by the way. The webinar at 6:30.
Oh, yes, tonight
Yes.
is, yes, the webinar with,
Just in case
Paul
I'm
Bernard.
wondering.
Yeah,
And what time is the protest? Around 7?
that's at noon on the Friday.
I have a grandson being born that day.
Oh, excuse me,
So-
okay.
Busy?
I'm not involved. I'm trying to think how to name the boy something.
Sunday? No.
Climate.
It's okay.
But I have no say in the naming either. That's great. And Richard, do you want to talk about the open house tonight?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, I mean,
Yes. Nothing really spectacular in the sense that,
official plan.
yeah, it's the official plan. It's
Oh.
the new one, the one that's coming. So if you want to have a read, definitely come down. The consultants will be there to discuss the particulars of the plan, and we will be here as well.
Of the official plan.
Of the official plan, sorry, just to be clear.
And
Sorry.
I'll be at county council, so I won't be able to make it.
Okay, we'll give you the highlights next time.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
That Richard, what we had talked about with the change in the public consultation around the climate stuff.
Yes, back to that. So we discussed with the consultant and we have enough information to finish the report. So there would be no need to have the reschedule revisioning, because Carl was saying if we come back to the public with nothing, it's not going to be a harder conversation. So the goal is that I draft the climate action plan in some fashion, and we'll have a draft on the 6th of October.
Okay.
And between the 20th to 24th, we're tentatively thinking of having an open house.
To drop in.
Yes, so it'll be a similar concept where there'll still be food available. We were considering maybe a buffet style.
Right.
And we will still have the drop-in where you can come in and you can ask questions. So that's the format that we're thinking of doing. We're just having it later on in October, just to give us more time for planning.
Yes. Okay. I appreciate that. Okay. Okay.
Okay, anything else?
I just had a question about
Go
the
ahead.
official plan.
Yeah.
My understanding that the transportation master plan is integrated within the official plan?
Yes.
Okay.
So the consultants will be there to talk about it. I don't believe the draft TMP will be available for a reading, but the contents and the discussion will be facilitated by the consultants who will be there. So if you want more details on that, you can ask them when they're there.
Zara and I will be there.
Okay.
It looks amazing, by the way.
And so I'm getting confused here. So this is the Smith Falls official plan, but then the transportation master plan that's a part of it has nothing or little to do with the rural transportation.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
That's
It's
separate.
separate. Yeah, that's with the county as well.
Right.
And
Okay.
they've had their last round of consultation a couple of weeks ago, and I haven't heard back as to what the next step is. So once I know, we'll hear more.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's not related to the rural feasibility study at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know there's a lot of public engagement things happening, so trying to keep up.
So we changed we still will hold the October 14th, but our next meeting, if you're able to attend, is
The 21st.
21st.
Yes, I'm looking to have to reschedule the 14th to be the 24th for the next meeting.
Now I'm more confused.
Sorry, I was talking about our little subgroup.
Yes.
Oh, our subgroup is the meeting?
16th at 2.
The
Yeah.
16th says 2, that hasn't changed.
Yeah,
Still happening.
right. So you might want to change the 14th because you're on holidays
Yes,
of
correct.
October.
Yes, so
All right.
I want to change the meeting date. Sorry if it's too confusing. There'll be follow-up emails, so don't worry.
Can you send one email with all the dates?
I will. I'm
Really
sorry.
helpful, thank you.
To lay this on you at the end. Yeah.
So some year where
Sorry?
not the 14th, but
The 21st?
the 21st.
Yes,
So
unless
by-
you want the meeting in the same week, and I can do the 15th.
No, so you moved it a week later,
Yes, so it's gonna be 21st.
so you can get some holidays, well deserved.
You're in
Thank you.
holidays.
So it's,
Same time, just different day, 2 p.m. on the 21st of October.
and if people can't do that, just let us know soon and we'll find another date.
Yeah, we can discuss availability.
Marie,
I'll circulate notice and you can let me know so I can make sure we have quorum.
okay,
My calendar disappeared off my phone again.
Oh,
It's happened a couple times, I don't know.
that's so strange.
I would
so
die.
There's no app, it's just gone.
motion to adjourn.
Sorry.
Steve and
Sure.
Danielle, all in favor? Carried, thank you. It was a good discussion, I appreciate it.
Well,
Did Nate send regret?